a 10.1.5 PvP guide video about the Elemental Shaman. This is a updated guide. We made a guide for 10.1. I feel like I have to update it because there is a lot of things that changed in my POV for Elemental Shaman. Now I'm going to do a short and concise guide about it. We're going to talk about stats, embellishments, force that if we're running in it or not. We're talking about the main build we're currently today running. I'm going to talk about the PvP talents really shortly. We're going to, of course, talk about 2, 3 soul shuffle RBGs, because I did also a lot of RBGs as Elemental Shaman, so I'm going to give you my opinion about it. I'm going to do my rotation on the dummy and show you what you're going to look for whenever you are actually like trying to survive and trying to deal as much damage as possible. We're going to talk about a few macros here and there, but mainly tips and tricks so you can actually just jump in PvP and be fruitful with it. Of course, Elemental Shaman is a caster, so in my opinion, it is one of the better casters to play because it is a lot of instant cast, a lot of like schools. You have literally Nature School, Frost School with Ice Fury, for example. We have also the Fire School. We have also the Volcanic School with Flame Shock. So a lot of things that are actually quite interesting to play around. I'm going to talk about it in this video. Now, I think we're going to start right away with the stats. And I think I have the perfect stats right now. I'm also in the queue for Soul Shuffle, so I want to make a video about it as well. We are currently going full haste with versatility. We have a bit of mastery, but really you don't want too much about it because it is one of the lesser scaling stats for Elemental Shaman, and we don't have a lot of crit as well. Elemental Shaman is really particular where you want to be going for crit as well, but you also don't want to. You want to go for mastery, but you also don't want to. While haste is probably the best feel-good stat you can go and run as Elemental Shaman. There is like two worlds: a world where I'm not going for full haste, I'm going for mastery, and a world where I'm going full haste. And the full mastery world sucks, and the full haste world is actually like joyful and very fun and feels really reactive to play as Elemental Shaman. Versatility is always something going to be quite nice to have, again, because it increases your damage, but also lessens the damage taken. So it's something you're going to always have to run at least 30% or a bit less, but not really more in PvP, so you can actually like enjoy that little damage decrease, but also damage increase. Now, 4 set or 2 set. Personally, I run 2 set. I still want to replace the shoulders, but mainly what you want to do, it's the same as Enhancement Shaman, you want to run your helm, your head, you want to run the legs, because both of them have great stats, which is haste, also versatility, and a bit of mastery. So those are the 2 sets you want to run. Why don't you run the 4 set? Well, the problem is you're not really casting Chain Lightning, especially not in arenas. Maybe in RBGs, maybe, but even then I won't do that. It increases the damage, which is acceptable, but degenerating after Stormkeeper, which you're not really talenting into, it's a big spoiler, and it's a 100-second CD Stormkeeper because it's not 50 seconds, it's actually ×2 in PvP. At least from what I know, it is ×2 because I don't feel like I have Stormkeepers every 50 seconds. So I personally don't really like the 2 set as well, but the good thing is the stats are quite good on those 2 pieces. That's why I'm running it. At the start of the match, you get like a Stormkeeper, so just start right away with your burst, and that's it. It's just like something needs to have, but personally, I would not mind if it wasn't there. Anyways, that's really a very bad 4 set in my opinion. It's always cool to have like a Stormkeepers where you can maybe crit on it and it will like start up your damage quite nicely. And like enchants, we're going to run with home on speed. We have also speed on braces, speed on boots. We have intellect stamina on legs. Shadowed belt clasp for the extra stamina. We also run haste on everything, and also every single gem I have 70 versatility, 70 haste, 33 versatility with only 1 plus 88 haste. We are running embellishments, You have the anti-CC embellishment, which is precog. You should go for it. I think personally, as an enhancement shaman, it's also worth to take it. As a restoration shaman, it's also worth to take it. So I would recommend to just take it. We also play with the by default. For me, it's a by default one. I play with successfully applying a loss of control effect to an enemy, interrupting an enemy, or dispelling any target, which is you're always going to do and always going to proc. You will get a 5-10 primary stat every 30 seconds for 10 seconds. So you have like a 1/3 uptime at all times, which is quite nice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're also running the insignia for haste because haste is quite cool. You don't really want crit, so again, we're also to have the procs because you're always procking anyways. Like your damage is always going to be there. It's not like you're like on a timer, so it's always going to be nice to have like some consistent procs from it. So that is pretty much it. I Sophic Devotion. I tested everything. I prefer Sophic. Now let's talk about the build, and this is the main build I'm running currently. Um, there are a few things that I'm going to change in the PvP talents, but this is really the main build. Last three, there's not really a lot of to talk about, except we're playing pretty much with Lightning Lasso, Ancestral Guidance with Spirit Walker's Aegis at the end. There is also a world where I'm playing with Totemic Projection, depending if I'm playing with Aesthetic Field Totem, which is not every single game. And also we play with Clan Spirit if you're facing, let's say, a Resto Shaman and you want to dispel a Hex, which is always going to be pretty useful if you don't want to die. Also playing with Greater Purge, I don't feel like I have a lot of GCDs that I can use. I can use Purge, like I can spam it, but I feel like just one time, like 2 purges at the same time is quite nice as well. At least it feels like that. What else? Yeah, pretty much we're not playing with capacitated totem. I feel like it's not that good, and also you're DRing a lot of stuns, and you don't want to do that. Especially if you have like stuns in your. That's pretty much it. The points that I would remove to get, let's say the how's it called? The clan spirit. I would remove the totemic focus, for example, and put clan spirit. And if I want to have totemic projection as well, I would remove 1 point of totemic surge into totemic projection. But that is something that you have to see on the get-go, depending on situations. If there is no resto shaman, just remove totemic focus and go for totem projection, etc, etc, etc. Spectre, I'm playing like the lava burst build. It's not the most, I would say, original build. I made multiple original builds in 10.1. I feel like those builds don't really work in current landscape with the current meta, which is Windwalker, which is really on your face, and it's very hard to actually like hard cast a lot of things. So for me, this build is the one that works the best. We are not playing with Volcanic Surge. Unfortunately, it's a great PvP talent, but you need your instant lava burst. And even though it does 45% more damage, it is looking juicy. Whenever I'm taking it, I can hard cast lava burst. I do 100Ks, but since you cannot really do that and you really want those like instants, you're not going to take that. So the main points that you can remember is we're taking a focus inside because you're going to off heal quite a lot because of that, so it's actually quite nice, and you're spamming flame shock, so at every time you're going to have 30% increase healing effectiveness, which is always going to be welcome. We also play refreshing waters. If I'm playing, let's say, if I'm playing like in random BGs, for example, or RBGs or World PvP, but mostly what I'm doing is I'm playing with Primordial Bond. That is the one for Soul Shuffle, for example. There are situations where you maybe want to play Refreshing Waters if you are the target and you feel like you have to sometimes hard cast some heals on you. You can do that, but I feel like dampening itself is going to ruin that talent in social fall. So I don't feel like there is a lot of like ways for you to self-sustain effectively. We're playing with Ice Fury with also Flux Melting. because I do like the fact that I'm doing more damage on my lava burst every time I'm doing a frost shock, and it has nothing to do with Ice Fury frost shocks. You can just do a frost shock, it will apply 20% more buff, damage buff on lava burst. It's always welcome to have, of course, the Ice Fury buff to do and to deal more damage on your frost shock, which is actually doing some good damage. So you're going to have a lot of sustained damage because of it, and it's also not really worth for the enemy to kick your Ice Fury. If they do, you can pretty much hardcast a lot of things that are more useful than Ice Fury. But whenever you're doing it, you feel like, okay, now I have like 4 frost shocks and I'm doing a lot of damage with it. There's also like the second thing that you can take, which is more in cleaves, which is Ice Fury causes your frost shocks to also damage up to 3 additional enemies, and targets hits take 15% increased nature damage from your spells. So you have to cast Ice Fury first, and then a Frost Shock, and then let's say you're doing an Earth Shock, it's going to do insane amount of damage. Or let's say if you have like the proc from your Stormkeepers, and you're going to do that, it's also going to do some great damage. The only problem I have is you have to hard cast Ice Fury and then do a Frost Shock to get the benefit of the 15% increased damage on nature spells. While Flux Melting, you're going to spam Lava Burst anyways, and it's going to increase the damage on your Lava Burst. So for me, it's all benefits. I prefer Flux Melting, but there are worlds where I'm playing with Electrified Chucks if I feel like I want to play like that. What else? What else? What else? We still play with Surge of Power, although it's nerfed. It can be nice to have like the Stormkeepers with like an Earth Shock. So if you're doing an Earth Shock and you get the proc of Stormkeepers because of your 2 set, you're going to basically do a lot of damage on your Stormkeepers. The issue is it is nerfed, but it's also a great way to farm your Fire Elemental. So every time you're going to do an Earth Shock and then a Lava Burst, it's going to reduce 6 seconds on the Fire Elemental, and sometimes you can have like a 1 minute 1 minute CD Fire Elemental, which is always welcome. Very, very welcome actually, because it is a burst CD for you. We take all the modifiers for Lava Burst. We have also improved Flame Tongue for more damage on fire. And we take Searing Flames because we do like to have like a steady income on Maelstrom. We play with Skybreaker's Fiery Demise. Makes your Flame Shock actually like top damage, like top 2 or top 3 damage. And it's going to do some good damage. The good thing is Master of the Elements now affects also Flame Shock. So whenever you're doing an Earth Shock, you're going to have Nature, Physical, or Frost spell being increased by 20%. But now Flame Shock is a volcanic damage, which is Nature plus Fire. It will be affected by it. So if you're putting a dot with a, let's say, whenever you're doing a lava burst, or you're doing a lava burst and then you're going to do a flame shock, that damage will be increased for the whole duration of the dot, which is always going to be nice. Of course, lava burst into earth shock is what probably is going to happen most of the time. We're playing still with deeply rooted elements. It does proc a lot because you are playing haste, you're going to spam lava bursts, and whenever it actually pops, it is feeling really, really great. There's also Magma Chamber, which is nerfed by 50% in PvP. Is still going to be very welcome to have a lot of damage on your Earth Shocks. Now, there's like a probably hot take for me. I prefer playing with Primal Surge. I understand why people play with Splintered Elements though, because it gives you a big PI effect on yourself, which is always going to be quite nice. But I want to say that the increased damage on your lava burst is noticeable, and having lava surges that are guaranteed every 3 seconds for 12 seconds, and also casting Primordial Wave directly gives you a lava surge, gives you a lot of burst potential from that place and from time to time. Now, I understand Spinner's Elements is quite nice. I do play it as well, but I want to share my most favorite build. Of course, there's a way where you can just play Splintered Elements and you're going to be golden. Personally, I prefer Primal Surge, but I understand why people play with Splintered Elements. It is giving you a small PI, it adds up, it will make your Flame Shocks actually like tick for very fast, and you will get more Lava Surge procs as well. But I feel like you're getting 4 Lava Surges in 12 seconds with Primordial Surge. Do you get more Lava Surges with Splintered Elements? That's something you have to decide for yourself. because you're not really going to hardcast lava burst. It will not happen that often, especially since you are the target. So that's why I do like to have, like, whenever I'm doing a primordial wave, which is often sub 30-second CD, even less, I think 25 seconds CD. Primordial surge is going to give you a lot of, like, that oomph that is very needed to actually finish off targets. One tip for RBGs, I'm going to say that in the RBG section, but earthquake actually stops capping. So just put an earthquake and you're pretty much good for 6 seconds, which is quite strong. So be sure to play that. Now let's talk about PvP talents really quickly. The PvP talents I'm using the most right now. Personally, only shield is like something is my fan favorite PvP talent. I play that as a resto shaman. I play that as an elemental shaman most of the time. I really like to have two knocks. I often do only shield and then they charge back onto me, and then I thunder shock them, which pretty much will make them not come back to you. They're being kited, and then you can root them off with earth grab, for example. Always going to be quite nice. Um, I really like that PvP taunt. Often than not, I play that. Of course, versus casters, that's not really needed. You can play grounding totem, but I feel like if you're playing versus double melee, you are going to make yourself very vulnerable by not playing Elite Shield. I do understand that some people prefer to play Static Field Totem. I feel like you need a lot of, like, talents to make it work. You need Static Field Totem. You will need Totemic Projection. You will also need to not fail that, which is not always the case. Sometimes you fail it. Sometimes they are immune because of it. Because, for example, DK is often immune by a Static Field Totem, so you cannot grab them away. So there's a lot of things going on, so I don't know if it's going to be very worth to go for that every single time, but I do understand that. I do play Traveling Storms in RPGs because people are noticing that, look, you're a shaman, you're going to go in, they're going to step away because they are going to get knocked, obviously. But if a warrior is charging in, they're not going to step away from the warrior because they fear that they are going to get knocked. That's not the case. So what they're going to do, they're going to stand there and feel like safe because they're not going to get knocked. And then you're going to use your Thunderstorm on your ally, which is the warrior, and then you can just knock two or three people from Eye of the Storm, which is personally very fun to do. You can do that as well as the Resto Shaman, but I'm just going to say that it also knocks further away, so it's always going to be quite nice as well. I like that for PGs, not for arenas. A Counter-Strike Totem, I like that. Personally, versus noobs, versus people that are not noticing the Counter-Strike Totem. You can test it in one soul shuffle if you feel like they're reacting very quickly on it, then do not play that again. If they don't react on it and you have like a lot of damage on your details because of that, keep playing it because it feels like you're going to have a I win button by pressing that. Unleashed Shield already talked about it. Grounding Totem, it's one of the better totems out there. If you're not playing Burrow, you should play Grounding Totem probably every single game. Depends on who you're facing, really. If you're facing like versus two double melee with, let's say, a disc priest, you don't really have a lot of ground except maybe mind games. So you have to decide for yourself if you want to play with grounding totem or not. These wins, I like that if I'm playing versus a destruction warlock or fire mage, especially a fire mage, you're going to kick a lot of fireballs, which results them actually dealing 45% less damage on you. Frost Mage is also very easy to have that, so you can actually farm that. So what I would do is I play Season Winds and then I play Grounding Totem, and I'm like the most unkillable Elemental Shaman for a caster. Affliction Warlock, also great to play against. And if you play versus a Shadow play, you should play Season Winds because it helps you at every single damage proportion of that Priest or Warlock, which is quite nice. I'm gonna play that again. Let's talk about Volcanic Surge. I already talked briefly, not briefly, but a lot on 10.1 with the guide that I made. I don't think it's now that worth to play because of the state of the game. You don't really have a lot of time to cast, and if you do, it means that you have a free game, which is always going to be welcome. But I feel like having instant lava bursts might outweigh the damage increase that you would get on lava burst. And currently, I'm not really playing a lightning bolt or chain lightning build. So I'm not going to get a lot of benefit on the reduced cast time, but also not on the increased damage on lightning bolt, which is, I think, a good playstyle to play. But I feel like many games I played and lost because I didn't have like those instant lava surges. That is my take. Burrow, I think it's a very good talent to take if you're playing versus two meaties. You can actually ruin a lot of goes if you feel like they're popping Avatar with Colossus Smash. Just go Burrow and you have like 5 seconds gained from it. But you have to predict it. Don't do it like with 1% HP because the healer will have a lot of difficulties to actually heal you back up. So you have to think about it as well. And don't try to play Burrow as an aggressive CC option, which is an option. You can also knock them up and then knock them away. You will be knocked further away than normally, but it's not always going to be the best pick out there. And also, I do play Scarfury Totem most of the time because it increases my own damage on Lava Burst. So now let's talk about the rotation, and then we're going to talk about 2s, 3s, and Soul Shuffle and RPGs, and then we're going to give out tips and tricks. So to do some burst, again, depending if you're like Splintered Elements or Primal Surge, I'm going to talk about Splintered Elements right now because I feel like most people are going to play that, so I'm going to talk about that. But be sure to stay like past Primal Surge because it's going to do a lot of damage for you and it's going to feel a bit more smooth most of the time. Sprint Elements, basically what you want to do is at all times have multiple targets on your Primal, like your Flame Shock. So you want to, of course, Flame Shock as many people as you can, Fire Elemental if you can, and then you can burst with your Sky Fury Totem and you will get an insane proc. You have 30% haste, which is often going to be very neat because you have to remind yourself that you're going to reduce the Primordial Surge duration, a CD duration, because of your lava surges and your lava procs. You see, I have my Primordial Surge back. I'm going to do a Primordial Wave. I'm going to do a Earth Shock into maybe a Ice Fury, into maybe a Frost Shock, and then I'm going to do a lot of Lava Burst. You see, I have again 30% haste, which is a massive, and I have my Fire Elemental back up. So you see, you can really have your Fire Elemental up sub 1 minute, even lower if you're like free casting and you're having the time of your life. You can basically have it I think around 45 seconds reliably. In general, you're going to have a great time with it, and every time you're going to have a Primordial Wave, you're going to have like a PI effect. Pretty much you're giving yourself a PI, so that's actually a great thing with Splintered Elements. You can even have even more targets, and then you have like even more opportunities, a lot of damage. And be sure to just Flame Shock as much as you can and do like Earth Shocks whenever you can to actually expand that Maelstrom. And then you have a Fire Elemental again, going to Primal Surge again, and you see now I have a 50% because I have 5 targets, and it is insane in PvP. Like, you're going to have insane cast time, and every time you're going to have a Hex, it will be sub 1 second cast time. People are not going to stop it. And you see, if you're playing versus pets, try to put it on pets as well. It's very hard because there's a lot of like healers that can actually know and feel however they're going to dispel you, because if they dispel you, it's going to be very annoying to for you to have like multiple targets. But if you have like 3 targets, even 2 targets, it's going to be beneficial in the long run. Like, again, I'm bursting every single time whenever I can. Try to use your meteor from your pet. There is also a few macros here and there where you can actually do a at player macro or at or you can just put it on your lava burst, for example, and it will like meteor every time, or lava burst whenever it's like available. So it's going to be quite nice to have as well. And again, I mean, it's insane. It's insane the damage you can actually produce as a elemental shaman. It's a lot of like spamming. Don't get me wrong. It's like Earth Shock into a lava burst, into Frost Shock, into maybe a Ice Fury, into a Frost Shock, into a Earth Shock, into a lava burst, and you can do a lot of damage because of it. So this is pretty much like the rotation. There is no real burst. You burst whenever you can. That's pretty much it. Oh, we have 12 rounds of Soul Shuffle. Get some. But yeah, that's pretty much rotation. You're going to say, but where's the consistent damage? Where's the burst? I'm going to say yes. When do I have to when do I have to be consistent? Where do I have to do burst? I'm going to just say yes. Yes, do both. Do both whenever you can. Just do it because you're going to do a lot of damage. I made a solo shuffle video. It's going to be live tomorrow, so you can check that out like in action. And trust me, the damage is really nice. You just have to test it out, and you're going to have a great time. Let's talk about twos real quickly. Twos is not the best bracket for Elemental Shaman. You're not going to have a great time. It's a dampening It's a dampening bracket. If you want to have fast games, you want to play double DPS, which is not the forte of Elemental Shaman. Because you're going to get trained down, and yes, you have on-demand burst, but it stops there. It's very hard because one stun can just like kill you if you don't have a healer. Personally, I would play with a holy priest if you have an option because they have a stun, they have the CC, and they have like the heals and the damage also to like add onto your damage. You can also play with a balanced druid, a shadow priest, maybe a retribution paladin, but personally I would stick with healers. I don't think twos is like the best bracket for elemental shaman. If you want to climb with it, you can do it, but I personally don't really enjoy twos as elemental shaman. I prefer as an enhancement shaman or a restoration shaman. In threes, that's your bracket. You're going to have a lot of comps to play in. You can play basically in, for example, LSDs, which is lock, shaman, druid. You can also LSD2 basically. But that's mostly if you're a resto shaman. But LSD1, which is with a resto druid, is going to be your jam. With destruction warlock, affliction warlock if you want to, or a demonology warlock. Personally, I prefer to play with a destruction warlock because I don't like the playstyle of a demonology warlock, and I feel like an affliction warlock is a bit too dampening and too hard. It's actually hard to play affliction warlock with an elemental shaman right now because the damage is not that good for affliction warlock, single target at least. And sometimes I feel like it's easier to win if you're actually like focused down on one target instead of just like cleave them and rot them, which is also an option. But I feel like with destruction warlock, you have more ways to actually get the kills that you want in a specific amount of time. You can also play with a warrior. You can play with a windwalker. You can also play with a demon hunter. You need an MS effect really. If you play with a melee, don't play with a retribution paladin, for example. Just try to have a MS effect and then go from there. If you're a double cast team, it's fine, I guess, to not have a MS effect. Although there is like Destruction Warlock that has that on Chaos Bolt, and for example, the Demonology Warlock on their Felguard, they can actually have a MS effect. Quite nice. You can also play with Shadow Priest. They have Siphon, which is killed instantly, but you'll have that. My favorite comps is still with a lock. You can make it work maybe with a fire mage, but you're going to step on each other's foots with Hex and Polymorph, which is a DR CC. So yeah, I mean, you can play with Fire Mage, you can play with a Frost Mage as well. Even with an Arcane Mage, that's a very tanky comp. It's going to be very dampening as well. Personally, my preferred comp for with a melee, for example, is currently with a Windwalker. I think that's a better comp for Elemental Shaman because you can actually lock them out and you can actually kite, and Windwalker can actually follow you. Warrior is currently still okay-ish with Elemental Shaman, but it's not the best because of the state of Warriors currently. And with a caster, I would say Destruction Warlock is the most fun you can have as Elemental Shaman, but I stand by it. Soul Shuffle, I want to talk about it really briefly. I think they are really, really strong. They have a lot of tools, they have a lot of instant damage, they have actually a lot of consistent damage that can actually be seen as burst damage. That's why I'm saying, like, if you're telling me what is consistent damage or what is burst damage as Elemental Shaman, I'm going just to say yes, because you basically can burst every 20 seconds, every 15 seconds, depending if you have like primordial waves. Sometimes you get like a free Stormkeeper's proc because of your 2 set. It's always going to be adding more damage as well. Your Ice Fury is hard to kick. Your Frost Shock is instant, does alright damage, actually good damage. Earth Shock is instant damage and it's unstoppable basically. Lava Burst, you can stop it if they cast it, but you can also say, look, I'm not going to cast Lava Burst, only instants, and there you go. They cannot really stop you, right? You can basically like ensure your hex is going to be successful by doing Spirit Walker's Grace into the Focus Hex macro. I'm going to show you really quickly, and people are not going to notice it until a very high rating. In Soul Shuffle, it's like basically going to be guaranteed a hex because it's very hectic. People don't know if you're going to hex the DPS or the healer, so they cannot really stop and try to line of sight you while they're actually trying to keep their allies alive. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Try to do a hex and it can secure you some kills. Try to off heal as well in soul shuffle. I know it's not always like the most interesting thing to do on the map, but if you can actually half heal with your healing surge, it does some good healing. Like currently I'm not in PvP, I'm doing 72k. I'm going to hit the PvP dummy. You will see it's going to be quite interesting how much healing you can do. For example, if I'm doing a flame shock and combined with just having like for example I have a trinket proc, I'm going to remove it. It's going to 30% increase healing, right? So I'm going to do a healing surge, boom, it's going to do 160k non-crit. If you're critting that, you're going to full heal someone. The heals are quite nice. Also, your healing stream totem, try to pop it every single time. It's 24-second CD. It does a lot of healing. It's really a lot of healing. Your ancestral guidance is going to also heal a lot, and it's going to be quite interesting as well. Like for example, here we have like a arena match. We had my healing stream totem did per tick 26k, and I have ancestral guidance that actually healed for quite a lot. Also, my earth shield also healing quite a lot. You have ways to heal yourself quite efficiently and have a lot of success with it. What else? Let's talk about RBGs really quickly. It's not the best caster because let's be honest, boomies, destruction warlocks are probably going to be better than you. Fire mages currently are also nasty if they're in the right comp. Frost mages also, they cannot like be super useful with the ice wall, for example. They have ways to be efficient. Your way to be efficient is doing some insane amount of cleave damage. Now, depends about your team, depends on the map, depends on everything. Personally, Eye of the Storm is my favorite map, and I'm playing Elemental Shaman, so you know why. Arati Basin, Lumber Mill is my favorite place to be, and you know why. Blacksmith as well, I'm pushing people off the ledges and into the water, and like they're swimming like little rats that cannot really swim. They're very slow, and you can just win games because of that. So I really like RBGs as Elemental Shaman. I do understand why you're not picking Elemental Shaman if you have like an RBG group and you have like Balance Druids and logged in like Destruction Warlocks at your door, at your footstep. Why not take them instead of Elemental Shaman, right? But if you're making your own group and you're trying to make it cohesive, you can actually make it work for RBGs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tips and tricks. Try to use your kit. I mean, Unleash Shield is really strong. If it's not for the melees, you can also do it for the healer. Make them line of sight. Like if you can actually make their healer go line of sight, you will see in the tomorrow's soul shuffle video. I mean, or even tonight. I don't know if I'm going to do that like same day, but even you can see me utilize my kit to actually try to make them line of sight. It's really strong. Try to use your Skytree totem whenever you can. It's a 34-second CD, 15-second duration. If they don't break it, it's like 1/3 every time, right? It's going to be insane. It's 1/3 of the duration, like 1/3 of the uptime at all times, which is going to add more damage as well. X whenever you can. Try to not DR it, but I can understand if you DR it. Environmental is going to be up very soon, so you have to try to keep your elemental every single time up. I try to start my matches always with earth elemental to get me my 15% maximum health. People are like seeing the health and they see, oh, you're very tanky, maybe you're going on the second target. They're dumb. You get a free stun, you get some pressure because of that, and then you switch on fire elemental and they see your damage go pop off, for example. Lightning lasso, and try to line of sight if you can. Very important. Try to tremor totem every single fear if it's happening. Just do it. Like it's really strong. It also works for sleep from evoker. So if evoker actually sleepwalks your healer, use tremor totem, it's going to be stopped. Very strong. You can also let them cast and just use tremor totem, right? They're going to use their time by casting it, but also they're going to feel like the healer is CC'd while he's focus macros, focus wind shear, focus hex, very strong. Just play around that. It changed my world whenever I did that on my warlock, and now I'm using it for everything. So it's really strong. Grounding totem whenever you can. It's 24-second CD. Don't be greedy on it. Unleash shield the same 30-second CD. Don't be greedy on it. Gust of wind. I use it, but also I forget to use it. That's my thing that I have to work on. I have to use Gust of Wind a bit more, but I feel like I'm line of sighting my healer most of the time whenever I'm doing it. So If you're a dwarf stone form, it removes a lot of magic, bleed, and curses and diseases, so it can be annoying by using that. Astral shift preemptively because you cannot do that while stunned. So if you feel you're going to get burst down, pop it so you can actually give a bit of time to your healer to recuperate from CC, for example. And yeah, that's it. Those are my tips. Also, just spam lava burst. Make the lava meme come true, right? Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Again, we're making spec guides, so if you like those kinds of videos about PvP, about anything about PvP in World of Warcraft, be sure to subscribe to the channel because we try to make good content. And if you like those kinds of content, I'm going to try to make it more and more and more. Anyways, we have also a second channel that's actually coming up for different games. So I don't know what direction I want to do. So if you want to subscribe to there, there's a description also. And yeah, that's it. Be safe. We'll catch each other probably very soon with the next video. You never know. And yeah, be safe. Bye.